Hello, in this video I'm going to be talking about color contrast, which is an important accessibility feature of modern websites, and talk about some of the simple ways that you can make color contrast happen successfully on your site. So to do this, I'm going to just create a new very simple web project. So I have Node.js, which Node installed on this computer, and so I have which npx. I have npx here, and so we can use this to get a live server serving some HTML and CSS, etc. So I'll go to my code folder, cd to code, and I will cd into my web folder, and I will make a directory called, let's just say, color A11y, accessibility. So I will code into color, and we can use VS Code, and I'll just create an index.html, and I can use an Emmet shortcut, HTML5, to make a basic site, and it'll be color demo, and then we can have some text here in a p tag that says this is some paragraph text. So by default, this is going to take a certain styling in every browser. It might be a little different browser to browser, so it may look different on an iPhone versus on Chrome on my desktop, but it's going to hopefully be pretty accessible by default. So if I do npx live server just to run a web server for my current folder, this will run the live server package, which it's just going to serve all the files out of here as if this were a web server. So we'll wait for that to get going, and it'll open localhost 8080 and show my website, and so I can make changes to that and see the changes. So I'll just, for example, change this to more text and save it, and you'll see that it's getting updated because the changes are getting detected by live server. So it's a basic site, but what would happen if you changed the background color? Maybe you did that dynamically. So you have a a script that is a module and changes the body BG color to be a random hex color. So I'll get a random hex color and change it, and every time you load the page you'll get a different hex color. So the problem with this is that there's non-deterministic behavior here. Whether you did this by clicking a button and changing the text or whatever, there's some sort of non-deterministic nature to this, meaning that we can't know when we create this code base what the color is going to be. Unless we fix the colors to be a certain number of a certain set of colors, we can't know what maybe a user would pick as the text for this, the color for this, or what might happen based on random number generators. And you see when you get some particularly dark colors on this default black text here, you find that the contrast gets really poor. It's very hard to read that, and that's actually an accessibility issue for users seeing this text. They can't actually read the text visually, and so it can be very hard for them to know what's on your page. And you can tell this if you check your dev tools. You can use the Control-Shift-P shortcut to run a command, and then you can show the CSS overview, and you can capture an overview of the current page, and then right here on the colors tab you can even see that there are contrast issues, and so it's pointing out one text contrast that you have on your page, which is this purple background with black text, and it's telling you that the contrast ratio isn't meeting this AA, which is kind of a decent but not perfect standard, and then the AAA contrast, which would be the ideal standard you want to meet. And so if I reload this to maybe this color and rerun the overview and check the colors, now we're hitting AA contrast and not AAA. So this is a problem, and there are lots of ways that you could potentially combat this. You could not have this color changing feature. You could automatically pick a good contrast, or good text color that would create contrast on this site. or you could just simply put a background behind this paragraph that is always consistent. And so that's the approach that I'm going to show you here so that you don't run into this problem. So here we can just create a styles on this p tag. So since it's inside the p only, we could do this with the CSS file, but we can also do it this way. So we just say styles, and let's say star can be background color white, and that's going to select everything including the body. So if we select down to just the P, you'll see you get just the paragraph text here. And so now as I reload, you'll notice that maybe this isn't perfect. We could touch up the styling on this a little bit more to make this more visually appealing, but in terms of accessibility it's much improved, because now if we capture an overview here, we're not seeing that color contrast issue between the black text with whatever the background is, even if the background itself might be kind of a dark color that wouldn't work with a black text. And you might think, well, maybe I'll just switch it to a white text, but then it's not going to contrast well with the light colors. So you'll run into that problem no matter what. So it might be better if you can choose some sort of color that you're comfortable with for a background and make the styling look how you want it to look. For example, give this a border radius of 0.25 root ems, and maybe some padding of half a rem, and already it looks a little bit cleaner. And maybe this is a bit too dark, go for kind of a very light gray, something like this. And then we can, since we always know it's going to be consistent, we can do an overview and see how our contrast looks, and we're not getting any of those contrast issues between this gray text and the black text and the gray background. So just a little note on how you can think a little bit more carefully about how the features on your sites, even if they're very simple, just HTML, CSS, maybe a little JavaScript, how the features that you implement can actually have accessibility consequences, where the defaults of the browser are set up to be maximally accessible by default. If you start to mess with things, you're going to encounter situations where your choices are actually going to disrupt the accessibility of your website, and that's something that you need to steer clear of, because accessibility is not only the right thing to do, but it is legally mandated in the United States. So I hope that's helped, at least with the color contrast issue, to understand how you can make accessibility a priority in your apps, and one strategy that you can use, particularly with color contrast, to avoid accessibility issues. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.